What's poppin', everybody? It's your boy Snowy Kurama. Welcome to week 5 of LBL Games of the Week. For you, those of you who want a recap of what this is, I am taking my favorite and or the best games of the LBL for week 5 and posting them up here on the YouTubes. So if you are excited to see some of these games, hit that like. It goes a long way. It lets me know that you really want to see some of this stuff and other Draft League content that I post in the future. Hit that subscribe, of course, only if you want to see the funny number go upwards. And let's go and see our dice roll. As per usual, 1-4 midnight, 2-5 midday, 3-6 dusky dews. We're starting off with Dusk. This game is Rafmon and Egotistical Elekid. I know Rafmon was here last time, but trust me, I think this was the best game from Dusk. We see a Pecharunt. This thing is annoying as shit. I don't like it. At least I don't like playing against it. I've never used it myself. Torn. Scizor is annoying. We see, Pecharunt and stupid Slowking. That's annoying. And then these guys here, Terapagos and Cyclizar. I say that like they are irrelevant. They're actually really good, especially since Shed-Tail's allowed. Then we see Big Bad Heatran, annoying ass Toxapex, and a Shed-Tail are here, and Orthworm. So Shed-Tail versus Shed-Tail, Zapdos, Meowscarada, and Dragapult. Three good guys. Good guys, 3. What are we leading with on each side? Maybe the Meowscarada. I think Meowscarada is just always a safe lead. It might even be the Orthworm to get a early Shed-Tail. Maybe Dragapult for the same reasons for Meowscarada. The thing's really fast and it can U-turn to get on out of any sort of unfavorable lead. And on Elekid's side, probably a Cyclizar. Might even be the Pecharunt. We'll have to see. Let's get on into it. We see the Pecharunt coming on in, and the Meowscarada. How does he do it, ladies and gentlemen? Turns out, if you name all the Pokemon on the team, you're likely to know what one's gonna lead. We see a Terra Fairy for the Scizor. And that's it on Elekid's side. And then we see no non-stab Terras on Rafmon's team, so maybe he doesn't bring a Terra. We'll have to see. U-turn, because of course, on the Pecharunt doing absolutely no damage, and then this time we see the Rocky Helmet doing more damage than the move did. Heatran comes on in, maybe to take a Malignant Chain. Parting Shots instead, a very annoying move. Cyclizar, probably going to get off a Shed-Tail real easy. Yep, there it is on the Zapdos. We see the Terapagos coming on in. If this is the match that I remember, then this is going to be insane. Rock Polish, yep, this is it. See a Discharge, and the Terra Shell taking no damage from the Discharge because any move that hits Terapagos is not very effective as long as it's got full HP. Calm Minding up. We see a U-turn, also not breaking the Terra Shell. Right out into Toxapex, maybe to Haze. We see an Earth Power coming off, does a ton to the Toxapex. Surf, doing absolutely nothing. This is, oh, well, it crit, so I guess it got rid of the Shed-Tail. But it's kind of nuts. You see the Shed-Tail into the Terapagos, who's always going to be at full HP so long as it comes in on the sub at full HP. And that's going to be an even tougher Shed-Tail to crack, considering that all moves are not very effective against it. Pretty crazy. See the Zapdos coming on in. We see another Calm Mind from Terapagos. Then Orthworm comes in. We see a Terra Starstorm doing quite a bit to this Orthworm, even though it's resisted. Dragapult comes in. We see the Terra Starstorm doing nothing because, of course, it's a Ghost type. Calm Mind's up again because, what's the Dragapult going to do? Turns out it's going to Draco, doing not very much considering that Terapagos is now at plus... How is it at +2 special attack and plus... Oh, that's speed, my dumbass. Considering it's at plus +3 speed def, and now the special attack from Dragapult is lowered from the Draco. Orthworm comes in. We see an Earth Power. Yum Yum for the Orthworm. So this thing, as you can see, the Terapagos, it is Calm Mind, Rock Polish, Earth Power, and Terra Starstorm. So now Elekid has to be careful to not Earth Power the Orthworm and Terra Starstorm the Dragapult. Nice mind games. We see the Dragapult coming in, by the way, on a Terra Starstorm. And then an Earth Power on the Dragapult. Lucky that it got down to just 1 HP. That's actually insane. Then a Will-O-Wisping, but misses on the Terapagos. We see the Earthworm coming in, getting all the way back up to full for another Shed Tail. The Terra Starstorms instead. It was a big ol' 50-50 here at the start, and Rathmon was reading him like a fiddle for a little bit. Just playing him like a fiddle. I don't know why I got it mixed up. I know what I'm trying to say. Heavy Slam does absolutely nothing to the Terapagos, but we see the Dragapult coming in, hopefully on a Starstorm for Rathmon, and that's exactly the case. And then another switch out. The Earthworm gets more HP. I thought this was really funny. Because Elekid is trying to figure out what the hell Rathmon is trying to do, and he just keeps switching out, in and out, in and out. Terra Starstorm takes out the Meowscarada just like the Earth Power did with the Dragapult, and now Rathmon cannot play these games against the Terapagos any longer. Heatran comes in, but the Earthworm comes in. Just kidding, we can still play these games. Earthworm has enough HP for another Shed Tail if it so wants to. Nope, it just Heavy Slams to get rid of Terapagos' HP somewhat. I think that's more so. Oh, Earth Power. So a lot of 50-50s on this. And considering that Terapagos is big, scary, and dangerous, I think it's that it's evened out. See Cyclozar coming on in, who Shed Tails right on out to the Tornadus. Then Orthworm sets up some spikes so that Elekid doesn't get to switch in all the time. Heatran comes on in on Rathmon's side on a nasty plot on the Tornadus. Very scary. Focus Blast does not hit, and Lava Plume ends up taking down the sub. So Zapdos comes in maybe on, okay, a Focus Blast, yep. So very good switch on Rathmon's part. We see a Slowking coming on in the other side. Discharge, do we get the para? We do get the para on the Slowking. We see a sub, that's not a Shed Tail, that's just a sub, and a Chilly Reception to go on out on the Cyclozar, likely to press the Shed Tail to get something else. We actually see a Hyper Voice, which does damage to the sub since it's a sound move, and then a Roost off on the Zapdos to get some more HP. We see a switch out into the Pecharunt, maybe trying to break the sub with a Malignant Chain or something. Discharge doing about half the HP that Pecharunt has remaining. Discharge trying to get that para. We see a Recover off on the Pecharunt going back all the way up to the HP that it pretty much had when it came in. Discharges again and actually gets the Paralysis. Recover, getting Pecharunt back to almost full HP. The Slowking comes on in, and we're not going to get Paralysis on this thing because it's already parried. And we see a Roost so that Zapdos can get all the way up back to full. An Ice Beam does not take out the Zapdos' sub, so this thing might not have a lot of special attack, and this thing might be especially beefy. We see a U-turn coming on out, which would get rid of the sub, unfortunately, for Rathmon, but Heatran is in to probably Earth Power this thing. We see a Trick Room coming off on the Slowking side. Very useful for Slowking, considering it's very, very slow. We see a Chilly Reception to go ahead and get on out to the Cyclozar, which is kind of weird, considering this is Trick Room. Like, Cyclozar is fast. We know that. We see a Stealth Rock up on the Heatran, an Earth Power on the Cyclozar, which is a crit, almost taking that thing all the way down. Shed Tail, you can't do it because Heatran is beating you. It's meeting you. We see a Tornadus, probably just to take the Earth Power. Was it Earth Power last time? Yep, and Rathmon read that pretty well and got off a flame, a Lava Plume. Slow King comes on in to take more advantage of the Trick Room. Not sure why it even left in the first place. You'll have to ask Alakid. We see a sub from the Heatran, just substituting all over the place for Rathmon. We see a Chilly Reception into the Cyclizar, maybe to get rid of these hazards. We see a Mud Shot, the Mud Shot tech, to get rid of Heatran's sub, who then hits back with a Lava Plume, killing the Cyclizar. So now it is 4 against 4 in this match. Slow King comes on in, and it's not looking really great for Alakid, at least from what I can remember. We see a Paralyzed. You don't look to be paralyzed anymore. I thought you were the Petrarunt. Oh, it is. I was just hovering over the Tornadus. Tornadus is low HP as well. Scizor has not hit the field once. Heatran's in, still pretty healthy. Zapdos is pretty healthy. Toxapex can definitely come back from 48. And Orthworm is looking pretty healthy as well. We see another sub coming off from the Heatran. We see a Trick Room off of the Slow King. Let's see if he tries to break it this time with an Earth Power. Nope, Chilly Reception. I'm assuming that it gets Earth Power. I don't think it does, now that I'm thinking about it. And it definitely doesn't have it if it gets it. What am I even saying? Tornadus comes in. See an Earth Power coming off from the Heatran to try to hit the Slow King, and that does not work since it's a Tornadus. Lava Plume ends up taking the KO. Scizor comes on in. Try to break the sub. The close combat, I think. Nope. Just Swords Dances up and Terra Fairies to not take super effective damage from a Lava Plume. Close combating on the Heatran to get rid of the sub. But the defensive stats lowering makes the Lava Plume able to kill. We see Petrarunt coming in, taking the hazard damage. Sub again on the Heatran. Hex does not kill the Heatran, kill its sub rather. Earth Power into the Petrarunt, doing a ton of damage. Parting Shot out into the Slow King. See some lefties. Earth Powering the Slow King. I think at this point, the substitute Heatran just ran away with the game because, you know, it's just 2 poison types against this thing Earth Powering over and over again. And being able to substitute, and getting that substitute up pretty easily. You see a Side Shock from Alakid trying to do as much damage to the sub as he possibly can. Presses the Earth Power, not doing a ton to the Slow King, probably because of the Parting Shot. That makes sense. So an Earth Power coming off, killing the Slow King. And now it is Petrarunt versus the world. Just kidding, it's Petrarunt versus the hazards, and that is a win for Rathmon. So I thought that So yeah, as I mentioned before, the switches between the Terra Starstorm and the Earth Power and the ground and normal immunities on Rathmon's team, I thought that was really funny. As I mentioned earlier, I thought that was the funniest thing. The use of substitutes on Rathmon was pretty good. I don't think we saw this thing do too much besides get damaged. Yeah. Yeah, very, very good showing. Also, considering I noticed that all the showings that I had of Rathmon was losses against other people, so this is my way of apologizing for that, showing your win, and now we can move on from the Dusk battle. 1, 2, 3 is Midnight, 4, 5, 6 is Midday. We see 1, Midnight. This week we are looking at Jirachi and Joyer versus the Saigai. Very, very cool teams. The Zamazenta is very threatening, of course, and a Chi-Yu. Not a great combo to go against, and let's not even forget the Cyclizar that can just bring these guys in at full whenever the hell it wants. As well as Sticky Web, and then Rillaboom has a grassy terrain, which works very well with the Shed-Tail. The Hatterene's a cool little witch. Saigai has a very interesting bring in Golem. Likely trying to, because his dual stab does take care of Zamazenta and Chi-Yu, even though it's got a piss poor defense, special defense stat, so that'll be interesting to see. Iron Valiant, the kill leader of all kill leaders, is here as well. We see a Mandibuzz, another Shed-Tailer in Orthworm, the Terapagos, another one, and Salazzle. So let's see how this match gets on. We see Salazzle out on the Saigai side, and we see the Galvantula from Jirachi Enjoyer. Let's look at some Terras. We see a Terra flying on the Golem. Very interesting. Is that Terra... Nope, never mind. I got my Pokemon placements wrong. And then on Jirachi Enjoyer's side, we see a Terra Ghost on the spider. Galvantula, it's right in front of me. The word's right in front of me. Anyway, this thing over here has a balloon. We see a taunt here so that Jirachi Enjoyer cannot set up the webs. We see a flamethrower taking it down to the sash. Not like it matters, because it got a burn on the flamethrower. Thunder ends up taking this thing down to 7%, popping the balloon and paralyzing the Salazzle, which is pretty crazy. Chi-Yu comes on out, probably to take the rest of the kill. But we see a flame charge coming out, which is... It's very interesting on this thing. So this thing is no longer just some base 100, maybe even modest 299 guy. It is now boosted in speed. Not like that matters, because I'm fairly sure that this thing with a Scarf for booster energy speed is even faster. You see the booster energy speed, so that speed boost was for nothing. Very cool, though. You see the Zamazenta coming out on Jirachi Enjoyer's side. We see a close combat. I'm not sure if he was expecting a Moonblast or not on the Chi-Yu. Close combat goes ahead and takes out the Zamazenta the rest of the way. And then Rillaboom comes in. We see Mandibuzz coming on in with the Grassy Glide on it. And we see a weak armor Mandibuzz. Pretty cool. I got sweeped by a stupid weak armor Mandibuzz with Nasty Plot once. It was awful. Air Slash does absolutely nothing. We see a Terra Fairy on the Hatterene, so it also was it was a Stab Terra here. Nasty Plot on the Mandibuzz. I might have actually Nasty Plot instead of Air Slashing the last turn, but getting rid of the Rillaboom or doing a lot of damage to it, I can see how that would be very, very good for Saigai. We see a Nuzzle coming off, paralyzing the Mandibuzz. Lots of paralysis this game. Draining Kiss almost takes out the Mandibuzz. We see an Air Slash, but that's going to do absolutely nothing as a Draining Kiss finishes this thing off. Orthworm is here to pass off a Shed Tail. Nope, it's here to Heavy Slam, actually, into the Rillaboom. We see a low kick, but the Choppleberry ends up letting it Shed Tail at least once into the Terapagos. We see another Shed Tail Terapagos. Rapid Spin to get up some speed, it seems. Low kick does... Was that a crit, or was that just other words? I think it was just other words. I think it was just the ability. Flamethrower comes off onto Jirachi Enjoyer's Rillaboom. And then we see the Hatterene coming on in. A Terra Starstorm doing almost nothing to this thing. And even though it was resisting the Draining Kiss, we see that it was enough to pop it. So this thing, even though it is Terra Fairy, and it's Terra Fairy Draining Kiss, just stab, and now it's Super Stab. It might just have some special attack EVs into it as well. Orthworm comes on in, maybe to take the... Okay, so it takes a Nuzzle, which is pretty good considering this thing is dead. And then we see the Golem coming out here. We see a high horsepower taking this thing down to not a good amount of health, but then it Giga Drains right back. So it didn't even matter. Flying, and then we see a Stone Edge taking it down to 1 HP. Because of the Terra Flying, we see that Golem is living the Giga Drain and living handily. We see a Terra Blast flying going off, and that's enough for the Hatterene. Shiyu comes on in, probably to take a nice free kill with the Dark Pulse. There it is. Iron Valiant comes in here for a close combat, taking this thing down to its sash, which is enough for a flamethrower to OHKO the Iron Valiant, the scary, scary kill leader of Midnight Div. You see a Cyclozar coming in on the rapid spin from Terrapagos, likely expecting a Terra Starstorm and maybe even Earth Power. You see Ice Beam coming off, hitting the Cyclozar, and then a Chiyu coming in. The 1 HP Chiyu getting killed by the Terra Starstorm. Very good game in Midnight. Looking over this, I think I picked it because I liked the alcohol-themed nicknames. Tequila Worm, Rum on the Rocks, Martini, Sapphire of Bombay, never had that, never heard of it. Buzz Bomb, not that either, or White Claw, because there ain't no laws when you're drinking claws. That was, I think that was the only reason. Good game here in Midnight. Last but not least, we have Snek versus Circle Button. Snek took over a team that was 0-4 at this point, I think. Not very high probability of getting into the playoffs, but he said, let's just play it anyway. We see a team of Sun on Circle Button's side with a nice little gouging fire as this thing's super duper button, it looks like. Venusaur is also pretty strong. Meloetta, very, very tricky. And on Snek's side, we have a Reveroom, a Weirdeer. Just a lot of weird guys, really. Another Iron Val and a Spectrier, which are not anything to scoff at. Let's see how this match goes. I did not even say anything about leads. See a Torkoal. Let's see, what should Snek lead with? I mean, rocks are nice. Torterra might have rocks. There's a Stone Axe Cleaver. Probably one of them. But the Terras, let's go. Let's see here. Looks like we have Terra Poison Meloetta as far as non-stab Terras for Circle Button. And for Snek, we see a Terra Water Reveroom, Terra Fire Torterra. And we see the Weirdeer, actually, so I was wrong on my very loose 1 in 3 chance on the lead here. I've never seen a Weirdeer do anything, so this will be interesting. We see a light screen coming off on the Weirdeer, so I guess it's a screen setter. And then a Stealth Rock from the Torterra. Nope, that's Torkoal. Sylveon comes on in for reasons. See a Reflect. We go out into the Venusaur. And we see a Thunder Wave, so Venusaur's Chlorophyll, pretty much just useless now. See a Growth, which is still affected by the sun, pretty good. Psychic Noise doing a shit ton of damage, and if this thing had the Black Sludge, it's no longer going to be recovering from the Black Sludge, or any sort of grass-type recovery move, or even the there's something else I was thinking of. Synthesis, which is a grass-type recovery move. Sludge Bomb does a crit. Just crit killing the Weirdeer. At least it's got up its at least it's got up the screens. The sun ends here. We see Reveroom coming on in, which is very convenient that the sun ended on the Reveroom. Iron Treads comes on in. We see a Magnet Rise from the Reveroom. Iron Head doing absolutely nothing. See a Shift Gear, as well as a Shift Gear on the Iron Treads' side, which is pretty cool tech, not gonna lie. It might have brought this for any sort of setup that the Valiant wants to do, or maybe even a Shell Smash from Torterra. We see Iron Head doing nothing again. We see a Shift Gear up again on the Reveroom side. Shift Gearing again. Iron Head doing not too much damage. It's getting low at this point, and the screens are gone. But Snek don't care. Snek's gonna go for it. Snek's boosting. We'll see the Drought Torkoal coming in on a high horsepower, just straight up murking it. See Iron Treads here. See a Magnet Rise. I did not know until this match that Magnet Rise actually runs out. I had no idea. So when I first saw this, I was like, why are you Magnet Rising again? What's the point? Then I saw that the words came back up and it must have disappeared at some point. So Reverum is not hit by the Earthquake thanks to the Magnet Rise. High Horsepower kills the Iron Treads. We see the Gouging Fire. It is not burning Bulwark, as we can see, because it's gone. It's done. It's dead. It's gone. We see a Meloetta. Bop. We see Venusaur coming in, and High Horsepower just, you know, doing that. Sylveon coming in, and a Gunk Shot takes out the Sylveon, so I really only picked this game because, one, Reverum, doing the shift gear. That was pretty neat. And secondly, just to show off our newest Midday coach, Sneck here, who might take this team to the playoffs, might not. We'll just have to see. Great game here in Midday. For the Week 5 leaderboard, we have Iron Valiant from Saigai still up at the tippity top with 14-3. Lies of Jays' Salamence just trailing right behind at 10-3. Hydreigon from Legonen at 8-3. I think it climbed up. And Versify's Palafin took a lot of kills this week, I believe, with 8-3, and Iger's Iron Moth coming in at 7-1. On Midday side, we have Ditto tearing it up with his Hisuian Arcanine at 12-2. Holy Macaroni's Primarina coming in next at 10-1. Pretty good for that thing. Ditto's Landorus coming in at 10-3. Awan's Raging Bolt making the list at 8-3, and then Stish's Great Tusk at 8-4. Last but not least, over here in Dusk, we have Deadpool Spectrier hitting at 11-3. Elekid's Terapagos taking 10 whole kills with 3 deaths. Rathmon's Heatran doing the most with the 9-1 with those substitutes. Jeremy's Gliscor with 9-2 as well. And then Mr. Ric Flair's Zamazenta with 9-2 tying with the Gliscor. In Midnight, we have Iger taking the top spot away from Saigai, with Table Guy right behind him. Oh, Iger's at 4-1 at +8. And then Table Guy's 4-1 +7, so right behind him. Saigai is 3-2 at +7, so he could still jump up ahead. And then Venice is not very far behind him either. And Martin could also jump up. We see a lot of people just vying for first place over here in Midnight. Midday, we have Sound of Snow still up at the top with 5-0 +17. Ditto is not too far behind with 4-1 +13, with Holy Macaroni even closer to Ditto with a 4-1 +12. And then in Dusk, we have Boaz at 4-1 +13. Mr. Ric Flair not too far behind with 3 differential less. And Deadpool again with -3 from Mr. Ric Flair. So we got a little increment going on there in Dusk. For the Pickems, we see Midnight jumping back up to 50%. I think more people voted this time, so thanks everybody for voting for the Pickems. Midday, we see jumping up to 58% from their 50%. Might have been a little bit easier to tell who's going to win this time around, maybe. And then Dusk jumping it looks like twice as much from their 41 to their 58. I think there are quite a few. I think this time around there were quite a few ties, which I just counted as, you know, like you get half points. So there are quite a few ties, I think, in here. There were some ties in Dusk. I think there was a tie in Midday. And then I think Midnight, they were really wrong on 2 games, and then the other ones they seemed pretty okay with. And that concludes Week 5 Games of the Week with your host, Snowy Karama, for the LBL. We are over halfway done with the main season. I believe there are 9 weeks if memory serves. And this will mark the halfway point for all of us. So some of us might go on to the playoffs and some of us might not. There are a lot of teams at this point in the draft season that can still make it into playoffs if they just squeeze in a little bit more effort, which means the people that are quote-unquote secured, because nobody's really secured at this point, they still need to keep up the good work and not falter, because you never really know what might happen. Like this video if you have not already, and you like this Draft League content. Subscribe if you want to see the big funny number go up. Hit that bell so you know when it is I am uploading, and with all that being said and more, this has been your boy, Snowy Kurama. I'll see you for week 6. Bye-bye.